20th century, it was seen that many of the things that Lovelock was talking about were in fact coming to pass and could only be explained in terms of his hypothesis, which was steadily being refined. And in 2001, at a conference in Amsterdam, 1,000 geophysicists and other earth scientists signed the Amsterdam Declaration, which recognized the Gaia hypothesis as Earth systems science. This was 2001. So the journey from 1979 as a dubious hypothesis was complete in terms of being recognized as an acceptable theory by 2001. And in his theory, Lovelock was saying everything interconnects in circuits. There's the activities of humans, which tends to preoccupy humans. There's the operations of the ocean currents. There's the biosphere, weather patterns, algae in the water, mountains, rivers, tiny microbes. It all interconnects in circuits. And these circuits operate in such a way to make life habitable. And a lot of the natural ecosystems around the globe have the effect of keeping the temperature low enough that humans and other species can live. What Lovelock had underestimated, and this led to the publication of his 2006 book, and this book, Revenge of Gaia, was a catalyst for me, which I'll explain in a moment. He showed with impeccable logic, using the same principles that created the Gaia hypothesis, that all the circuits were feeding into one another and creating an effect on one dependent variable. The dependent variable was temperature increase. All the circuits were amplifying temperature increase. And this wasn't linear, steady. This was going to explode because he could find no other systems that were counterbalancing the amplification of temperature. So in his book, Revenge of Gaia, published in 2006, he talked about how temperature increase was going to have an end result where billions of us will die by the end of this century. And the only surviving humans will be a few breeding pairs at the Arctic Circle. And when I read that conclusion from an interview he gave to the Independent newspaper in Britain, this was in March 2006, I started to think and remember. In a book I wrote in 2002, I had identified an idea, a concept of failsafe in consciousness. But I didn't really substantiate it until there was the challenge of Lovelock's book. I felt incumbent on me to find a riposte, a response. Because the logic, scientific logic of Lovelock was impeccable. I have no quarrels with the logic. It's just that Gaia also had another function than that of a scientific concept. It had entered discourse as a metaphor and as a social movement. It was these two aspects of Gaia that I wanted to explore further. And the idea of a failsafe in consciousness, which was in the book called The Essential Spiral. It was about ecology and consciousness after 9/11. And this was published in 2002. What I did was to give some greater substance to this concept. The idea of a failsafe is that human consciousness will be kept in abeyance through willful human ignorance about ignoring better knowledge until the ecological situation on the planet deteriorated to such a point that this would be the catalyst to propel consciousness into expansion. And with that consciousness expansion, we would create new structures, new organizations, ask different questions, find different solutions, and be able to approach climate change with intelligence. And I rested this idea of failsafe in consciousness on three ideas. The first one was our innate earth wisdom. The second idea was the counterculture. And the third idea was tipping points in consciousness. I can talk about those later. Part of Lovelock's compelling scientific argument in Revenge of Gaia is that we're out of time. That it's too late to do anything to reverse the situation other than organize a major retreat. I disagree with this view. What I feel is that Lovelock's science is impeccable, but his understanding of consciousness is not there at all. And I do think that with consciousness transforming, we can reach a tipping point. And we saw what happened in the United States in terms of the space race. In 10 years, the United States went from 0 to landing a man on the moon. That same kind of call to adventure is the call to adventure that I'm issuing in this work.